Today we are going to discuss about All India Radio's development after independence. Now, All India Radio's development after independence is a major phase which has taken place in the history of Indian broadcasting, especially in case of radio, and also along with radio, it's basically television's development also, which took place with radio's development later on, because television began as a part of All India Radio in the initial stages, and later it was separated. So basically, in this lecture, we are going to deal with how All India Radio has developed into a massive and extensive public service broadcaster in India, and what further measures and what further developmental strategies are being taken by the government in this respect. So, in 1947, when India got independence, India had started out with 6 broadcasting stations, which were already set up by the British government before independence. These stations were in Delhi, Madras, Bombay, Calcutta, Lucknow, and Tiruchirappalli. It was in 1956 that All India Radio was officially called Akashvani. So now we all know that All India Radio is synonymous with Akashvani. So Akashvani Bhavans were established all over the country, and as we see that it has become one of the major radio broadcaster in India now. Now, if we look into the broadcasting pattern of All India Radio, we will find that we can divide its services into 4 important services. We can break down the programming patterns and the services into 4 important services. Now, first, we can divide the services into the national service. Now, national service is basically the primary service of All India Radio. Now, this particular service consists of the news services division, which actually plans and presents the news, newsreels, spotlight or commentary based programs, and current affairs programs. All these are made by the news services division, which is a part of the national service. Now, the national services program basically are relayed from the Delhi station. Delhi, being the capital of India, is the main center for All India Radio, where the major and important events and programs are broadcast and relate to other important centers all over India. Now, the national programs of talks, plays, feature-based programs, music-based programs are planned by the Director General and produced at the regional centers. So, the regional center of Kolkata basically plans the radio talk based programs, the commentary based programs. All these are done by the regional centers. They make programs in English, Hindi, and even Bengali. But if there is some important programs, and even the news based programs mostly are relayed from the Delhi station and heard in the regional centers. So the national service actually looks into most of the areas of providing news and providing information, or providing information about important events which are happening in Delhi, or important events which are happening in some other place, any governmental event, so that those information are reached to the regional station. This is something which the national service actually looks into. Now, the National Service has also initiated the Akashvani Awards for plays, features, and music, and also for youth programs. And this particular awards started in 1975 by the Akashvani Bhavan. Now, basically, to boost the commercial revenue of All India Radio, commercials were allowed on the primary channel in 1982 and on over 55 selected stations from 28 January 1985. When we talk about the national service, though most of the programs are relayed from Delhi, but we can include a particular station within the national service also. Though the programs here are made in different centers, but still we can actually include this particular station in the national service at this particular time, and this is the Vividha Bharati services, which were started in 1957. Now, talking about the Vividha Bharati services, we need to talk a bit about the history, a bit about how actually Vividha Bharati services came in. So, it was during the 1950s that Mr. B.V. Keskar, who was the Minister of Information and Broadcasting during this particular period, he had actually not allowed film music to enter the radio circuits, because he what he wanted was he wanted radio programs to focus more on the classical music of India, and to prove what kind of heritage India enjoys. And so he had banned film music at that particular moment. Now, during this particular time, he had organized programs like Radio Sangeet Sammelan, which was hugely popular among the people. But during this particular time itself, we see that when Ceylon in the late 40s had become independent, so some of the transmitters from the British Southeast Asian Command were handed over to Radio Ceylon, and they started running their commercial service in both Hindi and English. Now, the Hindi service, which the Radio Ceylon had started at that moment, it had it had no other programs, but it used to actually broadcast Hindi film songs, and because those stations could be catched on the medium wave and shortwave frequencies. So the Indian people also started listening to Radio Ceylon more rather than All India Radio. So it it so happened that Radio Ceylon gained more popularity among the people than All India Radio, and it was at this juncture that the government realized that it has to change its programming strategy, and it has to include Hindi film songs, especially Bollywood songs, into its ambit, and make programs based on that. And this is how actually Vividha Bharati was born in 1957. So here in October 1957, this services were started, and commercial advertising was introduced in this particular station of All India Radio in 1967, and it was started from the Bombay Nagpur channel, and gradually this was extended to Calcutta, Delhi, Madras, Tiruchirappalli, and other places of India. The advertisements which were accepted in Vividha Bharati channel was basically tape recorded spots of 15 seconds or 30 seconds duration. This was basically something which was accepted by the government, and the service could be heard on the medium wave in and around cities where the transmitters are located, and it was easier for the transmitters to pick up signals. The programs were broadcast in the initial stages from two shortwave transmitters in Bombay and Madras. And initially, a 5-hour program was put out, and 60% of the time was in the initial stages devoted to Hindi film music. And in the end of the 1990s, we see that the service was on air for 12 hours and 45 minutes every day, with an extra hour and quarter on Sundays and holidays. The network actually has 29 full-fledged centers and 7 partial centers, and it has 2 powerful shortwave transmitters in Delhi, Bombay, and Madras. Since inception until March 1977, All India Radio had earned a total gross revenue of about rupees 38.21 crores from its commercial services. So it was like huge benefit for All India Radio to start this kind of a service. Now we move on to the regional service. Now, in the regional service, basically the programs which are made for this particular domain basically covers the major linguistic and the cultural groups. Each state and union territory serves the groups living in the areas covered by it, and except for news and national programs on talks that are relayed from Delhi, the other programs are basically made in the regional centers and catering to different groups. in March 1995, All India Radio had about 105 regional stations with an average of 4 to 5 regional stations in each state. A particular station called Yuvavani was launched in 1969 on 21st July. Now, this particular set of station was launched because of the fact that All India Radio wanted to cater to the youths, and so because of that, it actually the service actually provides a forum to the youths between the ages of 15 to 25 years, who can actually present their viewpoints by participating in a wide range of programs on talks, discussions, interviews, plays, everything for the youth based audience. So it actually created an entire channel for the youth based audiences, and here the programs are basically made by the regional centers rather than the national centers. So Yuvavani also became hugely popular, and it used to consist of different kinds of programs, light-based programs, and it actually catered to the youth audiences in a very positive manner, and the youth loved those programs and participated in those particular discussions and programs too. Now, All India Radio also has an external services division, which actually is the voice of India, you can say, because this particular division actually has been India's authentic window to the world. And external services division of All India Radio broadcasts in about 16 foreign and 11 Indian languages in over 100 countries. Now, this particular division has also led us to hear programs of Radio Moscow, Radio Beijing, the BBC, Voice of America, Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, and many more services also broadcasted their programs via the shortwave frequency. So, All India Radio tries to reach out to other countries also to voice out what the government is thinking, and voice out about the various facets of the Indian culture, life, and thought, to so that it can reach the other people also, to the foreigners. They could understand what kind of programming strategy All India Radio is following, what kind of developments have taken place in the Indian perspective for radio. Now, apart from that, All India Radio also has the local service. Now, this local service actually is very important because the FM technology, the FM service actually falls within the ambit of the local service of All India Radio. Now, Varghese Committee in 1978 had recommended a franchisee kind of a system to promote local radio for education and development. So there were many committees which were formed by the government from time to time, like the Sarkaria Commission and other committees like that. So these committees had from time to time, propounded their thoughts on whether there should be a separate body to look into the broadcasting patterns which were happening in India. Also, there were committees which looked into whether All India Radio should be separated from Doordarshan, and all those things were discussed in by various committees and put forward by these committees. So the Varghese Committee actually looked into the promoting local radio for education and development, and it was during the seventh plan period that we see that it was proposed that 73 districts out of a total of more than 500 would be launching local broadcasts by 1992. Now, in this local broadcast, basically indigenous folk formats would be the main domain of making the program. So it can include the participation of local people into its domain. Now, here we see that the FM services were started on an experimental basis from a place called Nagarcoil, but it was not very popular in the initial stages, and also the technology was not very ripe at that particular moment in 1977. It was difficult it was being difficult for the government to have the technologically sound system. So what we see is that in 1993 a big breakthrough in the FM circuit came in, and it basically came in when All India Radio allowed the private companies to buy time slots on AIR FM. Here, by allowing them time slots, what All India Radio did is they allowed them to brand it and make money through the commercial time. And so we see that different companies like Midday, Times of India, and other such companies, they actually started buying slots, lease, actually rather not buying, basically they started leasing in the time slots of All India Radio's FM service. And they actually started preparing programs during that particular period, and these programs became hugely popular among the local people, among the masses, because the programs were enjoyed thoroughly by these people, and FM became very popular. Now, for leasing out the time slots, All India Radio used to charge rupees 3,000 per hour from the companies, and the companies got advertisements in between, for which the companies themselves used to charge about 300 to 400 rupees at that particular period of time. So what we see is, because the programs included a variety of content based on quizzes, game shows, chat shows, and because it was more of a youth oriented kind of a thing which was happening, and because they used to give gifts also to the people, so it became hugely popular, and so the FM revenue doubled to about rupees 930 million in 1997 and 1998. But the private companies during this period, they resisted All India Radio's bid to raise the rates and lobbied against Indian companies with 25% foreign equity bidding for time on FM channels. And so, because of this controversy and these problems, what happened is that in mid 1998, the private FM channels were pulled off air. This was a big thing which happened that particular moment, because FM channels became popular because of the intervention of the private companies. So we see that this time slots which was sold during that period actually happened in Delhi, Bombay, Panaji, Bangalore, Madras, and Calcutta. These were the places where the FM services involving the private entrepreneurship to enter into buying the time slots actually happened in these particular places. Now, because the FM services were pulled off air in 1998, there was another controversy which basically happened regarding selling of the television rights, and this controversy was related to the selling off of television rights regarding a particular cricket tournament, rather I should say, named Hero Cup, and this was a controversy which happened between the government of India and the BCCI. And during this particular controversy which was going on that particular period of time, the Supreme Court made a landmark judgment in 1995 which said that airwaves are not private property, and airwaves are the property of the public, and so airwaves have to be used in such a way so that people can get access to the medium. And it was after this judgment that the monopoly of All India Radio ended, and what All India Radio did was it actually opened businesses for the private commercial FM radio. And in 1999, we see that All India Radio started thinking about a particular kind of policy to actually lease out licenses to start separate radio channels on FM using the FM technology. So in early 2006, we see that there were about 338 licenses for FM stations in 91 cities which were auctioned, and these licenses actually helped in the creation of private FM channels like Radio Mirchi, Red FM. So, in late 2002, the government again opened up FM radio for the community groups also. The community FM technology helped the local stations to start FM broadcasting FM programs within universities and other stuff like that. So there were different universities, different colleges which actually used use this technology to broadcast their own program. Now we move on to the other initiatives which were taken by All India Radio. That is, the All India Radio had a commercial arm to provide consultancy and turnkey solutions in the field of broadcasting, and it has named this arm as AIR Resources. Now, this AIR Resources has helped in providing solutions to IGNU in setting up FM transmitters for their Gyanvani stations at 40 places at the country. 26 Gyanvani stations are already operational, and the infrastructure, that is the land, building and tower, etc., everything have been given on rental basis for a fee, for a particular amount of fee. Now, the AIR had already earned a revenue of about rupees 35.50 crores during the time period of 2006 and 2007 for this particular venture. It has also introduced the digital audio broadcasts since the mid 1990s, and this particular kind of broadcast, though primarily an audio medium, it has also the ability to carry multimedia messages or services like the text, data files, graphics, pictures and moving video. So thus DAB listeners can listen to information accompanied by information and pictures on their computer screens. Now, All India Radio also has an audience research unit which actually conduct the listenership surveys. Also, it has its news services division's website, which was relaunched in November 2007 with additional features like archiving and search along with the feedback option. So it has become more interactive. Now we move on to the digitization measures, and if we look into the digitization measures, we will see that the newsrooms of the regional news units have been automated, especially the newsrooms of Guwahati, Shillong, Shimla, Jaipur and Imphal. They have shifted from teleprinter line to news-based wires and VSAT-based news wires for receiving news for agencies. And a special project launched in 2006 to digitize the archival recording preserved in Central Archives of All India Radio. So the digitization process is still going on. Now, looking at the world, at the overall scenario, we have not been able to, totally deal with everything regarding the development of All India Radio. But we can actually conclude that All India Radio's policy over the years after independence has been primarily of Bahujan Hitay, Bahujan Sukhai. That is to look into the benefit of more people, to make more people happy. So that is being the more foremost and important venture of All India Radio. And in fulfilling this venture, All India Radio had in the initial stages totally ignored the commercial and the financial revenues, and gaining those revenues from the broadcasting of programs, due to which it had suffered immense amount of losses. And it has also failed to meet the demands of the audience in providing programs with innovative content. It has actually followed the same kind of programming which was there in 1947. So programming content has not actually changed. It does not allow all different kinds of elements to be interspersed as the way the private or the commercial FM channels or the private commercial channels do, and because of that they dominate the market. And because of this entering of the private channels, especially in the FM technology, with FM technology, All India Radio has suffered a setback. But we cannot deny the fact that All India Radio is still the most widespread radio which is available, because it has MW and shortwave frequencies, and it has control over the news broadcast. So it has been important service broadcast, especially in India, and it will basically continue to remain so.